Yeah, it's right now.
Oh, there we go.
It's
All
live
right.
now.
Originally released on the PlayStation 5, Returnal, the third-person roguelike developed by HouseMarque, hit the console on April 30th, 2021. The game follows Selene Vassos, an astronaut who lands on the planet Atropos in search for the mysterious white shadow signal. Finds herself trapped in a time loop. And with each loop, more and more secrets are revealed. Returnal received, general favorable reviews when it was first released, based on the combat, the visual and audio design. There were some mixed things about the roguelike elements and the not being able to pause your game to save in the middle of a run. But finally, on February 15th, 2023, Returnal hit the PC on Steam and the Epic Games Store, supporting new features that add to the experience and immersion on PC. Does the PC version live up to the PS5's original awesomeness? Let's find out on this week's Geeks with Kids review with me, Eric, Brent, and special guest PascalCat. How's it going, guys?
Yay! It's going good.
That was the most that was the best intro I've ever done. It's like, just
we could have let Pascal do the intro. She could have just winged it off the cuff, but it probably would have gone for about 55 minutes. So
it happens. So we have two people who are really good at Returnal, and then there's me here who is like a little.
No, we have stages. Like I'm, and then she's like, no,
yeah.
Wait, let me tilt the camera up. Like,
and that's why
that's a good range.
We needed it because, we need to have that full experience for everyone. I know a lot of people aren't really into roguelike games, but I love roguelike games, and this is a really good one.
Yes. So
before we start, I'd like to thank Sony for sending us a review copy so that we could check out the game early and just see how it is. Because this is Geeks with Kids, this is not really a roundtable. It's just us chatting about the game, so it's pretty much a fireside chat where, just a bunch of friends are here talking about things that we enjoy. So let's start with the story. It's sort of hard to encompass this whole story because it is a mystery, and I don't really want to spoil it for people out there. Like we'll make it pretty vague, but what did you guys think of the story of this astronaut sort of discovering this time loop the first time you played the game and, subsequent times you've played it?
I mean, I didn't even know what the hell the story was the first time I played it, because I think I probably got about 45 minutes into playing this game and said, screw this shit. This is way too hard. And I stopped playing.
I remember you.
I was quite angry with how difficult the game was.
And I knew that you had just started it too. And you're like, I guess you haven't thrown your controller yet. I was like, I don't know what that means. I just started it.
I did, though. I eventually did. And I quit the game for about 9 months and then finally came back and tried it again and fell in love with it. And I love a story that just slowly unfolds bit by bit and that doesn't spell everything out for you. It's games like Hollow Knight and stuff like that where the lore is there for you to find, for you to discover, and for you to figure out what's happening on your own. It doesn't have to just spell everything out for you. And I love games that do that. Like, from finding all the little items, like the log files of previous recordings from her being there, to like all of the storylines as you go through the house and you start to see more about her, like her backstory and her personal life and what's led up to it. And I don't want to go beyond that as far as the story, but I just love the way it unfolds.
Yeah. Pascal?
I guess just very quickly before I get into the story, since we're at the very beginning, I just wanted to give a quick concise description of Returnal for anyone watching this. I think Returnal is a third-person bullet hell shooter roguelite with sci-fi cosmic horror themes. Yep. That's what you're in for.
Yeah. I should have said bullet hell. I totally forgot to say that because it is.
Yeah, it is. It's so good.
Yeah, you get shot.
So yeah, I personally really like the story. Sometimes I have a hard time deciding whether I like the gameplay or the story more. And I know that can be polarizing, but yeah, when I first started playing, it definitely draws you in. You're like, what is going on? And you slowly learn a little bit more, especially all the cosmic horror themes that drives you in as well. The only issue, I think, is I've watched hundreds of streams of this game, and people will get to the ending. And sometimes both the streamer and the viewers will go like, that's it? That's how this ends? And I think part of it is that a I'll hear the streamer talking about what they understood of the story, and it's fairly clear to me, at least, that they missed a fair bit or they got some things wrong. And I think the story in the Returnal is really like literary level. Like there's a lot of foreshadowing, there's environmental storytelling, there's a lot of symbolism and overarching themes that I really like. So I think it really benefits from close reading. And when people get to the end and I see them get things wrong or wonder about certain things, like not being sure who a character is or why they look a certain way or things like that, I think those questions are really invitations and good starting points to dig deeper and find the answer. And if you do that, I think Returnal does have a fairly cohesive story, actually. I know some people don't like open-ended stories, and the director, Harry Kruger, did an interview where he said that they specifically designed it so that multiple interpretations of the story can be valid at the same time. I think that's more that applies more to like the nature of reality in the game. I think the actual details are a bit more concise than that. But yeah, I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. But I think it's good. I think it's poetic in a lot of ways, and yeah.
There's a lot of sorry, I was just gonna say there's a lot of sci-fi, like psychological horror films and even games out there that sort of end on a ambiguous note, and I think I love that. Like a lot of the themes come from your personal experience with your journey, and I feel like this is one of those games where that happens.
And that's why I'm going to echo off what she was saying there. So I had mentioned this before we started about how I had like this little anecdote to tell about almost a year ago. Actually, it was about a year ago now. I did a crowd control stream. Like this was the first game when I started streaming. This was the first main game that I was playing that got people in watching me, that helped me start to build a community. And I met like a whole big community of people who were into this game, very passionate about it. And they really helped me grow, which was fantastic. That's how I met Pascal, was about a year ago playing this game. But I did a crowd control stream of this one day where I let chat do redeems that would mess with me playing. And one of the redeems I did was I would create a theme song for the game just off the top of my head and recorded it, and somebody clipped it, and this clip has haunted me for the past year because it is the only goddamn clip that ever comes up when people shout me out on Twitch. So on day one, and you know, finally, after about 3 months, the past 3 months, it has not showed up at all. I was like, thank God, it's finally done. I don't have to hear myself sing anymore. Day one of Returnal releasing on PC, I go into a chat, somebody shouts me out, and that clip comes up, and the first thing I get is an entire chat room full of people going, dude, you just spoiled the goddamn game.
Oh.
And I was like,
wow.
Because I do basically like lay out what happens in the story in this clip, and I was like, I apologize guys, but I'm telling you like surface level what happens in this game. Like that's the bare minimum of what happens. Like there's way more to the game than just that, trust me. But I felt really kind of bad about it.
That's unfortunate.
It wasn't really your fault. You're not the one who
wasn't my fault. But it's I didn't take that into consideration, that like, hey, if that clip comes up, there's a whole new generation of people now that are playing this game for the very first time.
Yeah I remember watching this or playing this game for the first time, and I hadn't really seen any trailers for it because I like HouseMarque. I played a number of their games previously, but the elements that they took from like the Alien franchise, like strong female protagonist, and then her lone wolf sort of journey through this, and then even just the design, like the visual design.
Yeah, just the H.R. Geiger design from everything in it.
Even the sound design is very Alien-esque, and it was just an amazing experience to go through. So like we were said earlier, this is a roguelike bullet hell, some horror element game. I'm pretty sure Pascal added a number of other descriptors in there that I can't remember. And like most roguelikes, you discover weapons and power-ups as you go through the game, and then occasionally you get these permanent tools that you unlock as you beat each boss in each biome. And like I stopped playing this game on PS5 before they started adding the suspend a run. So getting into this on PC and seeing that show up, I was like, oh, That makes me so happy.
Mhm.
That was why. That was
And
the main reason I quit the PS5 version originally. Was I didn't like the fact that if I wanted to do good, like the game is so hard, and if I want to progress, I have to never turn. It wasn't even just like you can't say it's, you can't. You turn your console off. That's it. Start over from scratch.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want that at all.
I remember them saying, just put it on suspend. You'll be fine if you put on suspend. But then, you'd lose power or you'd lose connection to your network, and
or
you'd
you
screw
want to
up
play
the
another game for
That's
an
true.
hour or something like that. You couldn't do anything unless if you didn't leave the game running.
Yeah. But this really was a unique experience. Like, I don't think I've ever played anything like the balance between roguelike and bullet hell in this game is done to a really good degree. I don't know what did you guys think of your experience when you started playing this game? Like the different types of gameplay that are in it. Anyone?
I mean, I wasn't really super familiar of roguelike games in general when I started playing this game. I'd never played anything like Dead Cells or anything like that beforehand. It was actually this game that got me into roguelikes because I like the idea of the whole like live, die, repeat. Sorry to borrow a Tom Cruise movie quote, but
It was a book
or
first,
the
so it's
original
okay.
the original title of the yeah. But no, I love the idea of like anything where you learn and you get better and better each time you play it. And I like the way that the game does reward you in the sense of like every time you hit a certain benchmark, they're like, here's an item so that the next time you go through, you don't have to do that anymore. But we still think you should, but you don't have to. So it's like even then, as you're progressing in the game and you're getting better, you're left with options on how to play, which I thought was really ingenious.
Pascal?
yeah. So sorry, I feel like I didn't finish off just
Oh, I'm
my
sorry.
last thought on the story stuff. I just want to say, and I think another thing that people didn't expect was I think some people were expecting more of like just an action-packed story,
Yeah.
and it's more a story about like cycles of familial trauma. So it might be a little on the well, I mean, it's still pretty gritty, but a little on the softer emotional side than some people might have wanted. But yes, so about my experience. So this was kind of the first game that I played in over a decade. And I spent, I think, like over 100 deaths just in the first biome, just banging my head against a wall over and over again. And for some reason, I decided this is what I
We've all
wanted
been
to
there.
jump in on. Yeah, so I was kind of fine with the whole roguelike thing. Yeah, I think I liked it. I think I was a little masochistic.
I think everyone in that first biome did not expect what it was. Like,
No.
because I died hundreds of times, I'm sure, before I finally beat that first boss, and I was so happy. Like,
Yeah.
that moment
It
was
has
just like
a-
I have to take a break. I'm so happy, but I need a moment away.
Yeah. It has a steep learning curve, but once it clicks, it really clicks. Yeah.
And like coming back to the game after all those years, I know Brent, like you said, like the first time I played it again, I was like, oh, I beat the first biome. I did the same thing.
Yeah, I hadn't played the game. I haven't played the game pretty much in almost a year, and then it's like the first time picking it up. I got through the first biome on my first life, and I was like, ooh, shit. Not so much the second one though.
No, same.
And still struggling through number 2, but
Yeah, but yeah, it does something familiar happens when you pick up that controller and go through this again. And speaking of controller, the PC port does allow you to hook up your DualSense so you can have the full DualSense functionality. Did you guys use controller or did you use keyboard and mouse? I know they had the keyboard and mouse. I thought that was a little weird for me, but
I used controller, but I didn't use because I didn't know what I had to do to like pair my. Every time I tried to pair my DualSense to my PC, it just kept pairing back to my PlayStation.
You have
So
to
I just
wire
said
it in.
whatever. Wiring it in still wasn't working for me.
Oh.
I couldn't get it to work, so I was just like, I'll play on the Xbox 360 controller. Like, yeah, I lose the adaptive triggers, I lose the haptics and that, but I mean, like, I know what to expect from that from the PlayStation version. So
can you do the half trigger pull for it?
no,
not
it doesn't
at all.
have no.
Yeah.
None of those.
Oh, Pascal, did you
Yeah.
end up going controller, or did you try and do the keyboard mouse route?
I will try to do the mouse and keyboard route just to see how it's different. But for now, I've just done controller because I've never played PC games, so it was comfortable. I just wanted to get through it and evaluate it and compare it to PS5.
Yeah, the left joystick, the movement, is so precise on the DualSense that when you use WASD, the turning isn't as fast, or the movement doesn't feel as precise as using a controller. I don't know. Maybe that's just a personal feel.
I did notice, like, playing the PS5 version today with the DualSense and then playing the PC version right afterwards again to try to compare the two of them. And this might just be a difference in controller and not necessarily in performance. But I did notice that it was a lot more fluid movement on the PS5 through the DualSense than it was playing on PC. Or sorry, the opposite. I found I had a lot more control playing on PS5. Like, there was too often today when I'm playing on PC and I'm like, there's an enemy shooting at me and I'm trying to just take a little sidestep to duck behind a cover, and the little sidestep would cause me to go off the map. And I'd be like, okay, that's slow down. That could just be like the performance settings for the controller that I'm noticing, but like that was the only issue that I was noticing that was really different between the two.
Interesting. Did you notice any other gameplay issues you had or performance issues between the PC and PS5? I played both today just so I could, compare as well.
Other than like the like we talked about, like the stuttering, just for
you might as well
just
get into
for like
that.
just this game requires, like, on PC, it requires you to have a pretty damn good system to run it properly. Like a very, very, very well put together system.
Yeah. Let me just go over the specs. So for their minimum specs are an NVIDIA GeForce 1060 or Radeon RX 580, an i5 6400 or a Ryzen 5 1500X. That's all just for minimum at 720p. But if you wanted ray tracing, let's see, a 3080 or an RX 6950, an Intel i9 or Ryzen 9 5900X, and then 32 gigs of RAM for anything over, 1080p. Like, those are pretty heavy specs for...
Yeah. And like, I'm running all of this off of a laptop. Like, it's a pretty damn good laptop. I have a Ryzen 7 5800. So I'm able to run the game, but I have to run it on the lowest possible settings. And even then, like I said, it's maxing out my GPU to almost 100% every second I'm playing it. Anytime I get into any room that has not just a lot of like enemy activity, but if there's a lot of rendering to come into the game, like if I'm finding if it's one of those rooms that's a much larger open space, it tends to cause a lot of stuttering issues. Not to the point that it's breaking the game for me or making it unplayable, but it definitely is. It's noticeable.
Did you try any of the deep learning super sampling, like the DLSS, or I think for AMD cards it's FSR?
No, I just basically tried to lower everything that I possibly could on the game down to like the lowest possible settings that it would that wouldn't affect it.
I wonder what it would be like if you used one of those settings. Like, they generally boost the performance without taking too much fidelity away. And it was one of the features they were touting. They're like, hey, we're coming to PC. We're going to have some big specs, but we have this.
I'm just looking forward to the fact that probably in about a month's time, I'll have my PC completed, and it'll be well enough that it'd probably be the first thing I stream is the PC version of this.
I meant like you should really stream yourself putting it together.
Well, it's about half put together right now. I just need the last few components. So
that's fair. Do you notice anything, Pascal, on your runs in the PC?
Yeah.
I'm down for any bugs or any performance issues, or maybe you didn't have performance issues when you went through the runs.
Yeah, I did. Well, so I played it on release. And I have a GeForce 3090 and an i9 13900K. So I also have a fairly new motherboard though. So since then I've updated my BIOS. But yeah, I definitely had a lot of stuttering that first day, much more than on the PS5. And I had a few crashes. The first of which I was streaming and it crashed my entire PC while streaming. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other two times it just crashed the app. But yes, so since then I've the game has had a patch on the 17th. So I got that patch and I updated the BIOS and did a couple of tweaks. So I think I need some more time with it. I know I was seeing stutters not just like when you go through a door, but in the middle of combat a lot. Especially the anti-energy pulse consumable. I'm really surprised they didn't have that in the benchmark that you can run to test your system, because that really is a stress test. It just puts particles everywhere. But anyway, so yeah, especially in the middle of combat, it will drop frames. So I feel like, yeah, I can't completely say it. I need some more time with it to see. My husband has a 4090, and he was saying he was getting some stuttering, but after playing for a longer period of time, he started noticing that less. So I'm not sure exactly.
I will say the first time that I ran into stuttering, it was like game breaking to where like I couldn't play through scene, but every subsequent time I've played since, it has gotten better and better and better. And I'm not sure if it's just because now when I'm playing, I'm shutting everything else off in the background so that it's just focusing on the game itself, but it has gotten better.
Yeah, no, same. Like I'm playing footage right now of me playing today badly, but you'll notice like at the beginning of the clip there was way more stuttering than there was later on in the clip. I think I played for 2 or 3 hours on this, so I don't know if it's just like them finally caching all the graphics or all the elements that they need for the show, but not the show, the the game. But yeah, definitely like the first times I ran it, there were a lot of issues, at least stuttering, and even during cutscenes it would pause and I'd be like, what? I knew what was happening because I'd played on PS5, but that initial crash, I'm pretty sure it stopped like 4 or 5 times before I actually crashed, and I was like, that's weird. That's a weird first thing to experience for this game on PC, because like a new person would just be like, oh, I don't know if I want to continue on. That being said, I think, Brent, you said that they announced that the is it
I caught like it's somebody posted a link to a tweet sent out. I think it might have been a tweet or something sent out by HouseMarque saying that they are going to address a lot of those stuttering issues in the first patch.
Yeah, and I know a lot.
Apparently, it's pretty universal. Yeah. Like it's universal across the board for everybody. So.
Yeah, because it's already had its first patch. Like Digital Foundry did a fairly good review on it, and where I believe they said also from HouseMarque that it's not from shader pre-compilation, it's geometry mesh creation that they think is causing most of the stuttering.
That makes sense.
And yeah, where they were also expecting to have some of the stuttering fixed in a patch, but the first patch was already on the 17th. So I don't know if they think it's already mostly fixed, or if there's another one.
I looked at the release notes a couple days ago when it got patched. I didn't see anything about the stuttering, but to be honest, like every PC port of a Sony game has had stuttering. Even the Little Big Planet game that just got released a couple months ago, that had stuttering, and that's not a like graphically heavy game. So I don't know if it's just going from this platform to the PC platform that there's something. I know those games are fine-tuned for that hardware, so maybe moving to a more generalized one is a little bit harder. Any other thoughts on the gameplay before we move on? Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So I think for the audience, the gameplay is fantastic. HouseMarque has a huge history of shoot 'em ups dating back to like the early 90s with Stardust. But taking that shoot 'em up bullet hell genre and going into third person and adding a roguelite and story element on top of it, I think is very creative and very innovative. There's not really any other game like it, and the controls are very, very good. They are extremely tight and crispy, very good hitboxes. I think for anyone that likes fast, twitchy gameplay, this is the game for you. The guns are also very unique. I don't want to get into spoilers, but the way that they function is pretty creative.
Yeah, they're very different. I'm still unlocking new ones because I'm not through the game, but they're fun, and I love that it changes the way you play the game. Just because you can't.
I love the variety of it, and not just that like there's the different variety of weapons that there are, but that each weapon has its own variety.
Yeah.
of attachments and build-ons that you can unlock for it, so that each time you pick up, like, every time you pick up like a machine gun in the game, you're not picking up the same machine gun every time. It's always different. It's always something new. It's always like something new to build on.
Yeah.
So it just keeps every run fresh.
Yeah. I think if anything, that's kind of a downside to the game, where a lot of, I'll say, yeah, I don't want to say too many spoilers, but a lot of the best guns in the game are deceptively bad when you first pick them up, right? So a lot of new players will.
You can just say it. Spitmaw shit. Everybody hates the Spitmaw. Spitmaw's garbage. Everybody hates it. HouseMarque, I'm sorry. Spitmaw sucks.
That's a note that I'll have to.
It's the best gun for Nemesis for speedrunners. So I don't know, but with rapid anyway, I'm not gonna get into it. But yeah, so I think a lot of people, will pick up a gun and be like, I can't use this. They just keep getting hit. Like this is terrible, and then never use it again. Where they really just require like certain specific traits that you need to unlock on them. So I feel like it's a little sad that I think some people don't get to experience some of the best parts of the game because they don't give the best guns a chance.
That's interesting. Now I'm rethinking the builds I do when I'm playing the game. I haven't read any guides. I know there are some really good guides out there.
That to me isn't a fault on the game though. That's a fault on the player. Like if they're giving you the option in the game to unlock these things, to explore, to try variety. If the player decides that they are stuck in their ways and they don't want to do that, then that's kind of on them for not discovering all that stuff.
Well, let me ask you, let me ask you guys this: are there any real like tips that you would give a new player that you didn't really understand about the game before, like until you beat the game? Like picking guns that didn't seem as good at first. Like that's a good idea. Like I never thought about that.
That's the biggest thing for me. I didn't understand weapon traits when I was playing the game originally. I didn't understand that, like I could, every time I got a new gun and it had like this thing on the bottom with like 0%. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like I didn't realize that was an upgrade to the weapon that you're unlocking as you play. And that as you get further in the game and you unlock more and more, you start getting way better ones. So I didn't realize the importance of really unlocking all of those traits. Like when you're playing the game, if you come across, you pick up a weapon, you've 100%ed everything on it. Okay, great. You see another weapon. You may not like that weapon, but if it has traits to unlock, pick it up and unlock them, because it just leads to better performance down the road.
Yeah, I will say, Raven, to what you said about it not being on HouseMarque, I do think that some of the best guns are unlockable later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you do, by that point, you've unlocked some of the guns that have, well, I will say they do have better like ease of use, right? They're very beginner friendly, so people gravitate to them early on. Yeah. And then by that point, you've also already, you've become comfortable with it and you've unlocked some traits on it. So going from that to this new gun that doesn't have any traits on it, that is, really shitty when you first try it. Like I can see why that you would not want to switch.
Yeah. And that to me is where the tower comes in really well, because playing through the tower was the first time where I started giving a lot of weapons that I really poo-pooed and put to the side, really started giving them a chance. And because you can upgrade them a lot faster in the tower. And that's when I realized, like, there's the coil spine, for example. I hated it the first time. I couldn't stand it. I hated that gun. It was horrible. It was horrible. Then I started using it in the tower. And as I started unlocking the traits where I was like, oh, damn, this weapon is good. Like, this is really, really good.
Can we talk about the Tower Sisyphus? Because that was not part of the game when I played it. That and the co-op, which I didn't even realize was a thing until I loaded up the PC version. Like, I assume that came, I think I read that came later, like just
that was about a year. It was about a year ago. It was a patch that added the tower and co-op to the game at the same time.
Yeah, March 22nd.
Yes. Tell me about this Tower Sisyphus. I never ended up playing it on the PC or PS5, to be honest. It's just a never-ending run, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's an endless arcade challenge mode. It just gets harder and harder. Yeah.
That sounds very bullet hell like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you cover this, Pascal, because I think my high score on that is like 10,000, and all you guys like Elle and Vin, like we come from a whole community of like speedrunners and pros of this game. Like one of our friends, Cave, is a world record holder in both the PS5 and PC version now,
Nice.
who's done runs at AGDQ for the game. We've got friends like Elle and Vin who are like on the top 10 leaderboards of all players in the tower. Like it's a grind, but like it's something that never clicked for me. I like the tower, I like the concept of it, but the gameplay of it never clicked for me. And I think you can tell the people it clicks for because you can see the people who are like, after going through phase 1, I'm sitting on like 900 points and they're sitting on like 55,000, and I'm like, oh, okay, clearly you know something I don't. Like,
Yeah. So overall, I think that the tower was great. I would recommend everyone to give it a try. Everyone that has the game, it's very addicting. You can just keep playing. Yeah, you're not limited by the amount of enemies in one room, one level. Yeah, it's just well, not a gore fest. It's an action packed fest of enemies and gunplay. It's really great.
I know you need the grappling tool to get up there the first
Yes.
time. Do you suggest people going in as soon as you get that grapple tool, or do you want to wait, or should you wait until you get a little bit older?
For new players, I would suggest going into the tower once you've cleared the game the first time.
Yeah. Okay.
Have every weapon unlocked at the ready. Because the tower progression is based on your in-game progression. So whatever you've unlocked in the main game is what you've unlocked in the tower. So, and that's what's caused a lot of speedrunners to do what's known as like, what do you call like
a tailored save
file, basically, where you play through the game and you only unlock items and weapons that will benefit you in the tower, so that when you go into the tower, the RNG is in your favor, so that you're more likely to get the weapon and the traits that will help you get further into it. Some people call that cheating. It's an in-game mechanic. I'm going to say this right now for all those people who say it's cheating. It is an in-game mechanic. You are allowed to do it. Yes. It is not cheating.
Fair.
Yeah, it's well within the scope of the game.
Yeah.
Yes. It's manipulation, yes, but it's manipulation that's allowed.
Yeah, and it's really like just a time save, mostly, at least for the RNG aspect. Yeah, so there was a patch and a reset to the tower leaderboard, and yeah, they rebalanced some things that I don't particularly love. Well, I think one of the biggest changes that I did not like was they removed, I mean, we called it a saving grace, where if you were hit without a shield and your health was in the green, it would first take your health down to the red, the low health part of your health bar, before a next hit would actually kill you. Yeah. Now in the tower, you can get one shot when your health is still in the green, or even full health.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I gave up on the tower, is because it's once you hit a certain level, unless you're a god tier player, you don't stand a chance. Like,
yeah.
So the furthest I made it is phase 7, and I'm like, I don't even know how I made it that far. And I'm watching you guys who are hitting like phase 60, phase 70, and I'm like, it blows my mind. Like,
so that is inconsistent with the base game. In the base game, you do still have that saving grace. So I can see why they did it. I mean, they did many things to ramp up the difficulty. I just think it's a bad design because when you have the saving grace, when your health goes into the red, you get like sort of red around your screen, and Selene, your character, makes a certain sound, and so you just know, you get this like visual and audio cue that you're in danger of being killed, and you know you need to slap on a shield. Whereas if they remove it, you have to now be always like moving your eyeballs from the center of the screen. You have to move it to the bottom left corner to check how many shields you have on, and also to the bottom right of your screen to see if you have an adrenaline shield on. So it just doesn't work as well. I just don't think it's designed as well. But it is what it is. We can work around it. Yeah. It's not my biggest complaint about the tower, right now currently. And
Which
yeah, well,
is...
we can have a discussion about bugs as well.
Oh, yeah.
But so before the PC version actually came out, we had recently discovered in the PS5 community that there was a glitch actually in the game called the adrenaline coolant glitch, where the adrenaline coolant is an artifact that, I don't know how much I should get into it, but basically it lets you use your special. It reduces the cooldown on using your special, using your alt fire.
Mm-hmm.
And we discovered there's a glitch where you can basically kind of get the artifact, get that bonus, and then delete the artifact and reacquire it, and the bonus will stack, and it'll keep stacking until you're basically like almost simultaneously like shooting out like 60 specials at once. And especially if your special is
That's cheating.
the shield breaker. Yeah, like that I think is cheating, because that, unlike the tailored saves, that's using a bug, right? That goes well beyond the scope of the code. So that's how, and we know for a fact, basically, we have strong evidence that some of the, at least 3 of the top 5 scores on the PS5 are using this glitch now, if not more, likely at least 4, I would say. So that's not great. But now on the PC version, the top score is nearly 1 billion at phase 9, which is like impossible.
Unreasonable.
That makes no sense. That literally makes no sense. We, for tower, you want to do like a lot of mid-air melees. We were already doing like as much of those as possible. And even with the AC glitch, that's more for longevity. That will not get you more points, more point density. So that's fishy as hell. Something is going on there.
The key in the tower is point multipliers, and the best way to do that, to stack those up, is by attacking and killing enemies with melee attacks rather than shooting them. That stacks your multiplier up more and more. So there's a limit to what you can get points wise because of that. And now all of a sudden we're seeing these scores coming in that are like double the theoretical limit. So like there's some fishiness going on there. Yeah.
Definitely more than double. Yeah. By phase 9, no, there's no way you should have anywhere near that. So very fishy. And it's just, if there are exploits and hacks going on, that makes the tower leaderboard broken and meanerless, unfortunately.
And that's going to be the big concern going forward, is like, I'm hoping that they keep the PS5 and the PC leaderboard separate, because there's always going to be a way for people to hack the PC version as opposed to the PS5 version. So
I can't imagine that would happen without any hacks or mods, and there is no anti-cheating software attached to this. I don't see anything in any of the notes regarding it, so I don't even know if they're monitoring it.
Yeah, I don't know. But other than that, if you're not too focused on some of the top scores, I think Tower is still a really fun experience. And like I said, I would definitely recommend everyone try it.
One day when I beat this game, I'm definitely going to jump into it. One day. There is also co-op that they added. Have you guys played much of the co-op? Yeah.
I haven't. I've been wanting to try it, but I've heard that the co-op makes the game a lot harder.
Oh,
I've heard it's actually considerably more difficult with the partner.
The difficulty stacks.
But I guess I've been wanting to try it and see exactly what it is, because I have a friend who I've been trying to get to play this game for a long time, and even now that it's free on PlayStation, if you have the subscription, I finally get it, and he still hasn't yet. But I'm like, I want to go up with you and Christ's sakes. Turf, get the damn game.
One day I'll play It Takes Two again.
Yeah, we have to finish that.
How is the co-op, Pascal?
I think it's great. I think from what I've heard, the PC version, I haven't tried it on PC, but it doesn't have voice audio in voice chat in PC, which is unfortunate. I mean, you can always hook up on Discord or somehow. Like there's people that join the HouseMarque Discord, the official Discord, and find partners that way. For a long time, though, there were a lot of people that would do that and go ask for help on either Reddit or the HouseMarque Discord. And people that would be willing to help them would be experienced players. And usually the advice we'd give then is to first try playing the game yourself solo, because that's really when you get the most out of it, and then only if you're like really stuck to ask for help. But I think, yeah, besides that, I think the best way to play co-op is if you are at the same like point as a friend of yours, or if you're starting the game together, right, from the get-go, and you just want to go through it together, that's fine, right? But like when there's a big skill gap, it's less fun.
Yeah. I know that the PS5 is getting the Discord integration pretty soon. It's on the beta right now, so I have it on my PS5. And that's very, very helpful now that we have a lot of cross-platform games. I don't know if this game you can play with the PS5 for the co-op.
No,
I haven't heard anything about cross-platform for this. No,
I wasn't sure. This game, at least when I started playing it, the audio design, like I'm a very audio aware person, and I played this in surround sound at first, and then I ended up getting the Pulse headset, which adds Brent has headset on right now.
Shit.
And
the Pulse headset with this game.
The audio design is amazing. So going into the PC, I was sort of weary because I have a 7.1 headset as well, but I also have I have in-ear monitors, I have like music production earphones, and I have studio monitors for my sound. So I was wondering how well the sound would translate moving from a home theater and a specialty headset to where it is. But they've also added Dolby Atmos to the PC version. So based on my setup, everything sounds really good. Like speakers, earphones. I haven't had any issues. Have you guys noticed anything, or have you?
The sound quality, honestly, that's my A+ rating for this game more than anything else. They nailed the audio for this. So much so that because I have been praising it and going into people's streams and they've been asking me questions about the game, and I've been telling them the audio is my favorite part, and is it better than the PS5? Is it better than the PS5? I was like, you know what? I don't really know 100%. So I put the PS5 version on today, put the Pulse 3Ds on, played for a little bit, came over, put the PC version on, put the Pulse 3Ds on, and it is night and day how much better the PC audio is.
Really?
Everything is so much more vibrant, is so much more specific. You hear every footstep, every crunch on the ground. Like I said, you hear the enemies drooling around you. Like there is not a single thing that you can't pinpoint. You look in an atmosphere, and everything you look at, you can hear the sounds coming off of it. Like it is unbelievable, the audio quality in this game. And it's just like it has that in the PS5, but I felt it was very muted. Like just the difference going back and forth is once I switched to the PC, it's like everything was crystal clear. Like nothing was blending together. Everything was its own separate source. Like unbelievable.
Hey, Pascal?
Yeah. I think I'm not the most sensitive person when it comes to both like video and audio, but even I had is the audio even better somehow on PC? Yeah, it sounded really great. It did. And I think I agree, Rabin, the audio is top tier. They won a lot of awards. Oh gosh, okay. I am gonna die on this hill that it was a crime. They weren't even nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Crime.
I'm gonna retroactively go back, and the year that I picked Ender Lilies as my, or not Eterna Noctis, I've picked that as my Game of the Year. That year, I'm retroactively going back and changing it to Returnal, because since playing Returnal, I now realize that was the far superior game that year.
Nice.
Okay, good. Yeah, so because they won Best Action Game at the Game Awards and used really, really excellent music piece choice for that. That I'm not going to spoil, but yeah, I appreciated that. But yeah, so they won Best Action Game over Deathloop, but Deathloop was nominated for Game of the Year. Even though it beat it in that category, I don't know.
Returnal's
it made
way
no
better
sense.
than Deathloop.
Deathloop was a weird game that.
Yeah.
It was a misadvertised game.
Yep.
It was a very heavily misadvertised game.
Yep.
That's all I'll say.
We talked about it on this show, I think, because me and you were really excited for the game.
We
got
were
it, and we're like, this is not what we thought it was going to be.
I thought Deathloop was going to be Returnal.
Yep,
that's what I was expecting from it. I wasn't expecting it to be. It was more Hitman-esque. It was more puzzle-like, and I was expecting it to be much more like, no, go in, fight a bunch of guys. When you die, you retain that knowledge, and you go back in, and you get better and better. And that was not the case. We're not here to talk about Deathloop, so
yeah, I've heard Prey Mooncrash, Arcane's previous, is more like what people is like the better Deathloop than Deathloop, but I haven't played it yet. It's on my list. Anyway,
Dishonored was the better Deathloop than Deathloop.
Yeah, I agree. It was just Dishonored, but with a new skin. To be honest, from what I remember.
Yeah, so they also did not win. I think Forza won Best Audio Design at the Game Awards, which I mean, no disrespect to Forza. I know they have really really good vroom vroom sounds, but no, honestly, I know they are really really good. But the audio design in Returnal, the guns sound delicious, and there's a lot of audio cues everywhere, right? The alt fire recharging, when things are coming to attack you. Wait, what did I have in my
there's
notes?
something to be said about a game where you can go into the real world and just take samples of these real cars and these real roads and stuff. But this one, you had to actually build everything. Like everything is there's not a real world comparison to it. Like the vines that are creeping in the first biome. That has an amazing sound. It's like I noticed it really for the first time on PC, as I was trying to do picture mode, trying to figure out how to get into picture mode. And
I'm excited to play through more on PC and hear what the audio quality for like the difference between each of the biomes, because I've only made it as far as biome 2, and you can hear the vast difference. Like the first biome, you're hearing those cavernous sounds, you're hearing those echoes, you're hearing like the moisture dripping off stalactites everywhere, and then when you get into the second biome, you're hearing the winds and the sands blowing by you. You're hearing like the sand hitting off of the buildings around you. It's like, it's so perfect how well they've done with it. So I'm excited to see how each different biome stacks up audio wise. Yeah.
So they were at least, what's the word? The situation was somewhat, they were vindicated at least at the BAFTAs. They did get they got the most BAFTAs that year. They had Best Game, Audio Achievement, and Music, as well as Jane Perry for Best Performer in a Leading Role.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Shoot, there was something else I was going to say about that.
I'm sorry, I jumped in on that.
No, that's fine.
I got excited because Jane Perry's performance as go for it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say her performance has to be top notch because she is the person that is bringing you throughout this whole story. Like there's no one else that she talks to, and there is a lot of depth to this character, especially as you go through the story and you find out more and more about the house and her history and stuff that I can't talk about.
Yeah. So I think definitely the audio and game of the year would be my top choices, but I think also they maybe should have also won some best technical achievement awards, because they did a lot. We didn't really get into this, but they for instance, the tentacles. They tried to originally do that with the traditional tech, and it just wasn't performing well enough. So they had to redesign it. They simulate the particles. They simulate the tentacles with their particle system. It was pretty innovative.
That's so crazy. And I think this is the first game, at least on the PS5, where I was like, this is what ray tracing can actually do. Like all of the visual reflections, just the look of the bullets that are coming at you or coming out of the guns. It was so visually astounding at the time. Even now, even on PC, even though I can't run it in full ray tracing, it's still a gorgeous game. The reflections, my God.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah. Yeah, they did. HouseMarque did do a VFX breakdown video that I can drop somewhere. But yeah, they had the particle system. They had a global fluid simulation grid where that they use to affect various things in the environment, like the fog, the vegetation, and it's affected by like your weapons, by your dash, by your melee. So it's even one of the bosses, one of the bodies of one of the bosses is completely done with the particle system. So I think they have a lot of great technical achievement to keep the performance up. And on the PC, obviously they added increased field of view. They added ultra wide. They added ray tracing. They added ray traced audio as well, which also sounds amazing. So there's definitely a lot of really cool extra tech in the PC version as well.
I know I convinced my nephew to get this game. He's 13, 14, but he has an ultra wide. And it's a selfish reason because I want to go over there and just see what this looks like in one of those giant monitors. I have two 27 inches, but like I would totally just replace it so I can play a game like this on that giant screen. Oh, I can't imagine. So I think we hit all the main categories. Is there anything else we want to touch on in the as we talk about this game before we go to final thoughts? Anything?
Well, we didn't talk about the DualSense. So I guess I can just quickly say the DualSense is great. The adaptive triggers are very natural. Mm-hmm. The haptics are very good. You can feel the raindrops in your hands. Yeah.
The game very, very much when you load it up is very much pushing you towards using the PS5 tech, and there's a reason for that. It's because it was developed for the PS5 tech, and it's plays the best with it. Mm-hmm. Like use the DualSense controller, use the Pulse 3D headset, like use as much PS equipment as you can for it, because it just makes it such a perfect experience.
I know.
The intro scene is really good with the haptics.
Yes, we've talked about this many times. I know, Brent. We've talked about playing different games on different platforms based on our experience, and the DualSense is definitely one of the things where I'm like, I can get this on PC, but I want to feel how it feels on the controller. And I know, like right now, as I'm thinking about getting the new Jedi game. I can't remember what it's called.
Play it again.
I know, till the end of April, but that's okay. I'm debating whether I want to play it with feel that lightsaber on my controller or play it on my PC where I can play it on my Steam Deck.
I'm a PlayStation purist through and through. I need the PlayStation to get my platinum trophies. I need it to use for all my accessories. Like, I mean, the DualSense, I can't. There's just nothing that beats the DualSense controller wise. Like.
And the PC support
they hit it out of the park with that.
Yeah, agreed. I forgot to mention, I've been playing this on my Steam Deck as well, which is the portable device.
Oh yeah, actually, I meant to. How is it on the Steam Deck?
It is not great. It's still.
It's not a game that's meant to be portable.
Well, to be fair, I've played Uncharted on there. I've played most of the ports, but I don't think it's optimized for it yet. I can play it, but the stuttering is even more.
There's a difference between like playing something like this and playing something like Uncharted. Like Uncharted it's generated the same way every time you play it. The enemies are in the same places every time you play it. Whereas this is you have to be ready. You have to like know what's going on around you 360 at all times. And if you don't, then you're screwed.
I feel like,
and I think you lose that playing hand. I think then again, I haven't played a handheld, so I can't say for certain. But I feel like you would lose that quality.
I got through the first biome on handheld, so I think that's good enough as it is. The stuttering just happens way more frequently, at least on it. Normally, the developers will make a set of configurations just for the Stream Deck or Steam Deck, but when I jumped into the game, it popped all of my PC settings in there, and I was just like, nope. Take that all off. No Epic for you. But it's fun. Like I would definitely play that on the go, or at least on my couch or I played on my couch already. I would play it in my bed before I go to bed. Yeah, because that's where I play Dead Cells. That's where I play a lot of my PC
Katie.
games.
That's where all your Stardew got in.
Stardew, yeah. Graveyard Keeper. Yeah.
I always knew when you were in bed when I see your name pop up on Steam and Stardew Valley. I'm like, oh, Eric's going to bed.
Or Dreamlight Valley, that Disney game. Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I gotta do my farming tonight. Yeah. Any other things before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I think maybe I should take this time to get into like bugs and HouseMarque critique.
Yes, go for it. For sure.
Yes. So yeah, I'll just preface by saying like I love HouseMarque. I'm gonna be their biggest supporter. I'm gonna buy all their games. Yeah, they're great developers. They produce great games. But I say this comes from a place of love, right? We love this game so much that we have to be honest about where its weak points are. So, well, the first one I guess isn't necessarily a bug, but Raven, just because you brought this up before we started streaming with the DMJ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, if you could explain, because you explained that a hell of a lot better than I would, what that is.
Yes. So DMJ is dash melee jump, which is pressing those 3 buttons really fast in succession. And it uses animation canceling to, basically achieve a really fast, long, big jump.
And like
so it's advanced.
A lot of the streamers like rebind their controllers so that you basically can do all of it in like one really quick motion, so that they basically just do this throughout the entire game to get their runs faster.
Yes, so it's an advanced movement tech used a lot by speedrunners, which I do also speedrun the game. So yeah, you had brought it up, Raven, because for some reason, all the other speedrunners in our community have been saying that it's harder to do the DMJs on the DualSense on the PC version. They say it's easier with the DualShock or with an Xbox controller. So I don't know why. For some reason, I'm the only one that doesn't have any trouble doing it, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. I don't know if they changed something up with the frames there, but yeah. So other than that, yes, bugs. There's obviously, small minor bugs that have never gotten fixed that aren't a big deal. I think the biggest bugs that would impact normal players are Nemesis, especially in co-op, but Nemesis is also bugged in single player, and that affects speedrunners more. But in co-op, your partner will fall through the floor infinitely, and that's, yes, not great. So also, not, I mean,
Depends on if your partner's carrying their weight or not.
Yeah. Not the biggest deal maybe at the end of the day, but not a great experience. So yeah.
It's you and me playing. Let me fall. I trust you.
Yeah. Right. If you could pick which one. Yeah. I think the biggest bug that bothers me, that I just feel like I need to mention, so HouseMarque or Sony, if you're listening, is there is, I don't know if I should call it eating inputs, but it's kind of like it's eating inputs. It's which is just like sacrilege in a game with the controls this good and such a fast-paced game. But it's where if you jump and melee and then grapple, so you're supposed to be able to do that sequence, right? Then the problem is if you try to do it again, you can't melee again. You jump and you're left just kind of hanging. You try to attack an enemy and you're just left all vulnerable, not doing anything. And this will just you can just keep happening. You can just keep doing this. So I think, I'm not sure exactly because obviously I don't have the source code, but I think it's something related to, it seems like it's considering, because you can only melee once per jump. So I think it's considering like you're still in a single jump. If you grapple, if you do jump, melee, grapple, and then keep doing that, you won't do any of the subsequent melees. So that's really not great for the tower, especially. Top players have been kind of working around it, where every time after we grapple, we'll do like a little hop and then do like a real jump and melee. But it's kind of like you're working with an extra permanent malfunction that I think really shouldn't be there. So yeah, it's like having a bug in your like basic inputs is not fun.
Now, is this like just the PC version you've noticed this on, or
No,
is this
both.
also like PlayStation? Okay.
PlayStation, PS5 and PC. Yeah, it's been there for a really long time. And I think a lot of people don't notice it. It's not as flashy as like falling through the ground in Nemesis, but it's a very subtle but very insidious bug, and it affects everyone. You can consistently repro it.
How is Marquee with the community? Like, are they very open with like, I know a lot of companies are open to talking on Twitter. Like, I used to play Destiny 2 a lot, like, and for a long time Bungie was very open in their communication, and then after a certain point they would sort of just disappear and the community would be like, what's going on?
I mean, a year ago when I was streaming this game a lot, I on 3 separate occasions I had 3 separate devs from the game pop into my channel just to like kind of watch and ask, my thoughts on the game and everything like that, and they'd hang out and they'd chat and then be gone. I'd never see them again, but I don't expect them to come back. They're checking out their game. And I've heard from like several other streamers that they've had them pop into theirs as well. So I know that at least a year ago they were very active in Twitch. Like, they were very active going in and out of communities. Not so much now, which I wonder if that's going to pick up now with the PC version out, if they're going to start popping in and checking out those streams, but I haven't seen any indication of that yet.
Yes. I'm very glad you asked, Eric. So yeah, I think they were more involved. Unfortunately, it's been kind of it's been kind of a problem in the Returnal community that they've been pretty radio silent for a long time now. So they haven't fixed a lot of the major bugs that I talked about, both just recently and the like tower bugs that we talked about earlier in the podcast. So they had some of these major bugs like that Nemesis falling. The bug where you fall infinitely at one of the bosses. They did not fix that, although you would think it's a pretty major bug.
Yeah.
Yes, other things that they haven't fixed bugs, and worse than that, they haven't communicated with the community at all since. So it's been definitely a lot of frustration. I've seen a lot of people in Discord and Reddit, saying they feel like HouseMarque doesn't care about the community anymore. So that's very unfortunate, because I really love the developers. I would love it if there were more of a relationship there with their players.
Mm-hmm.
And even actually getting back to the speedrunning, even there the speedrunning community, they've never been particularly involved with the speedrunning community. Besides, we do know for a fact that when the DMJ was discovered, they had internal talks and decided to keep it in, and we thank them for that. Yes, but I know, like, they never, when we were at GDQ, for lots of other devs will often pop in and donate as well when you're running their game, and HouseMarque did not. So we were kind of on our own, and there are definitely certain things that would help with speedrunning. Like having the cycle timer pause when you pause the game.
Yep.
Or that would be nice. But actually in the PC version, it's so far looking worse for speedrunning. I'm sure we'll find certain things that will make it easier. Maybe there might be some out of bound things that we'll find, stuff like that. But for example, there's one skip that we have in the third biome where you can kind of cut across a large part of the biome, and that no longer works in the PC version.
R.I.P. Frosty skip.
Yeah, I think I haven't compared it, but I think maybe they just like moved a grapple up higher so you can't reach it, which I don't like. It's not going to affect casual players. It's not really that big a deal. I don't know why they would do that, but yes. So HouseMarque, please, we just want your love.
Yeah. I wonder.
I remember the day that was found. How excited everybody was.
I wonder how Climax Studios feels about all of this stuff too, because they're the ones who ported it to PC, or how much input they have on changing the game. Because I don't know how the development cycle would work for them, because I think they're the main studio pushing that, right?
Yes. Climax Studios did do the port. I did notice they did outright change one thing. There is usually like a little healing item at the start of biomes that you get, and in the PS5 version there isn't that at the last biome, except in co-op. But yeah, it's not there in the last biome. It used to be on the version 1, on the unpatched 1.0 version, but it's not there anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. But it's there in the PC version. So part of me is again thinking like, this is almost like a drinking game. Like, is this a bug or not? Like Story of Returnal.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah. Is there anything else we want to talk about before? Any final thoughts? I think I've touched everything that I wanted to hit here. Brent, Pascal?
I think I've covered everything I wanted to get at.
Yeah, I think I covered everything as well.
I think like we can give our final thoughts. Like personally for me, I think this is a good port, at least for my machine. I think it is requirement heavy for a lot of people, and I know a lot of my friends don't have upgraded rigs yet, but would love to play this game. And PS5s are still a little bit hard to find. They're getting more prevalent, but hopefully, like, video cards or PS5s, which one's harder to find right now? No one knows. I think it's a great game though, still, even with the stuttering issues, with my badness with the game, I still have a lot of fun with it, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing more on the PC. Brent, we'll save our guests for last.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's there's some clear performance issues that I think making a game that demanding right now seemed like a poor decision. I understand that you want to get the best product you can out there, but making a game that releases in this day and age where like over half of the PC owners out there can't properly play it is that's not great. But that being said, once I am able to play it properly on the higher settings, like the audio alone is going to make me play through the entire PC version from beginning to end again. Like 100%, it was that impressive to me. I love the game. The game has always been super important to me. Like as a streamer, it was vital in me when I starting in meeting people originally. Like this was the game that started me going.
Yeah.
So I hold a lot of love for it in that sense. But 100% once my new PC rig is finished, like I will be playing this game again from start to finish.
Nice. And our special guest.
Yeah, so I think I think Returnal is a very special game. The gameplay's really top tier, the audio's top tier. The story I think has a lot of depth. The PC port, I'm not very familiar with PC gaming. I want to say it's a good port. I would recommend, if you think you have any interest in bullet hell-ish games, definitely pick this up. It's really fantastic. Yeah, the only downside is some bugs and some lack of communication from HouseMarque, which I mean, at one point we weren't sure if that might be, we don't even know if that's like due to HouseMarque or due to Sony. But regardless, like we know Sony, the other Sony studios do communicate more about bugs, so that would be lovely to hear more on.
For sure.
Don't forget to tell people, make sure you get a bandage for your bloody forehead from beating your head against the wall and Biome 1 as a new player.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It will happen. It will happen.
You know what? I forgot to ask you, if you had to rate this out of 10, what would it be? Brent?
Returnal on a whole or the PC port?
Yeah.
I as a port, I would rate it at an 8. I think it didn't need to be as high performance as it is. But I think if you have the capability to play at high performance, I think it's a very impressive port. I just think right now I don't like how it's limited to people.
Pascal.
Well, for the PS5 version, I'll say that first. I mean, my heart wants to say 10 out of 10, but I'll say like 9.5 just because of the bugs. For the PC port, again, I'm not super familiar with PC gaming, and I don't have a low-end system, so for me, and we haven't played it enough, and with potential upcoming patches where they'll fix some of the stuttering, so I'll go with 9.
Nice. I'm actually gonna go with 9 as well for the PC port. Having played the previous Sony ports onto the PC, this is actually one of the better performing ones, and I do have a higher end rig, so it does play pretty nice on my computer. I do find a lot of the stuttering, at least when you first boot up the game, weird that it stays there and then sort of smooths out as you go through the game. But
I always rate everything the lowest, unless it's Mortal Kombat the movie.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to talk about that. Anyway, thank you guys for coming on and talking about Returnal. Like, I'm glad that it's out again and that I sort of get to rediscover it, because I don't know why I stopped playing the PS5 version. I assume I got distracted like so many of my other games on that wall over there.
I love that the PC version is out now for a whole new audience to find it, because it's always been an incredible game that has been like right there on the cusp of really blowing up and becoming an immensely popular game. But but for now, it's like our little secret, and now the world gets to see it.
Yeah, I hope it does well on Steam and the Epic Store.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people didn't even know about this game, didn't even hear about it, despite some of the awards it got and all that. But yeah, I hope it does really well on PC as well. I hope HouseMarque gets all the funding they need to make a great new game and have a lot of bug support for it and community support, please, and hire community managers and all that.
Would you want a Returnal sequel, having like with you guys being so entwined with it? No.
Not story-wise, no. I think the story is good as it is, but definitely some kind of spiritual successor.
Yeah,
at least,
probably like a spiritual.
Like that, yeah.
Something that plays similarly, but as far as like the storyline goes, I'm fine with how this ended. It doesn't, but I mean, I said that about The Last of Us, and I said that about The Last of Us 2.
That's right.
We just keep bringing shit back. So no, I don't think this needs a sequel.
They don't really seem to do sequels either. Like they do the spiritual sequels like Dead Nation and Alien Nation. They felt the same, but we're different. Anyway, speaking of, let's thank our guest PascalCat for coming on and talking. Is there a place we can find you? Let us know what's going on with your life. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm on twitch.tv/PascalCat, all one word, and various Discords, the HouseMarque Discord, Speedrunning Discord, Reddit. Yes, all the places, PascalCat. But yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Check her out on Twitch. She is doing her first playthrough of Hollow Knight right now, and it's amazing.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm going to have to check. Do you stream on regular days?
No. My life is chaos.
I understand, as someone who streams on random days as well. Well, thank you again for coming on. This is awesome talking to people being like that are so passionate about this game, and finding people that want to play this game. And I love watching all of you guys on Twitch playing a game much better than me, but that's okay. Thank you again to Sony for the code for us to look at the game and to review it. We'll be back in a couple weeks. I think we're gonna talk about The Mandalorian when we come back. I think the first episode comes out next. Is it next week? You don't watch that, do you?
I don't know. I'm still on season 1.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll get to something. We'll talk about Survivor on one of these episodes.
Yeah. Oh God! It just give me the mic and I'll just go on for hours.
All right. For Pascal, for Brent, for me, Eric, thank you guys out there for watching and listening. We'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidscn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.